You know, like I've even had people tell me they've eaten the thing that I'm looking for.
Really?
You know, yeah, when we were doing it, I've had guys be like, oh, yeah, they're delicious. I'm like,
What?
like, tell me where to find it. Like, you've eaten it, and you have no reason to lie about this whatsoever. Like, please just help me.
What was this that they said?
That was regarding that caiman. Remember that yellow caiman?
Yeah.
And we did find them, so that worked out. But literally, I remember we're walking through the village on day one before we even get in the canoes, and I'm like showing people these pictures of all the different species of caiman, and I kept pointing to the Trompa largo amarillo, the long-nosed yellow one, right? And everybody's like, yes, no, maybe, one time. And then one guy's like, oh, those are delicious. And I'm like, oh, God, can we put this on Animal Planet? I don't even know. Like, I don't. Can you say that this thing is delicious?
Endangered species that you're eating. Well, there was always these rumors of like these places where these billionaires would fly into in China and eat like gorilla.
Yeah.
And, you know, have you ever heard of that kind of stuff?
Oh, yeah, I've heard about it. I believe it, too.
Do you?
I really do, yeah. I think that especially, you know, you say, like, especially with China, where the Eastern medicine and the status symbol of eating tiger whiskers and this, that, and the other thing.
There's a status symbol of eating something that's forbidden and very difficult to acquire.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, China has so many billionaires now. I forget what it is, but dozens and dozens of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that status symbol is important to someone with that much power and money, how are you not getting it?
Yeah, what a weird culture where your status is based on eating something that's endangered.
It doesn't even click in my head. Like, I cannot
So
physically
strange.
understand it. Like, no part of me is like, oh, I get that. Like, I really want to eat some tiger whiskers.
Have we ever talked about the Bondo ape?
Yes, you have. Yeah, I know you
Yeah.
like the Bondo ape a lot. Yeah. Big lion-killing apes,
Well,
right?
this is a big chimpanzee that
Yeah.
lives in the Congo.
Yeah.
Which is, the Congo is so incredible. It's like, God, what an insanely rich, resource-ridden place that's also a war zone.
And being absolutely raped and pillaged by, you know, big corporations in the Western world for resources and minerals. And
I had Siddharth Kara on, who I think his book comes out. Does it come out next week? It comes out the end of January.
Okay.
But his book is all about cobalt mining in the Congo.
Interesting.
And it's horrifying.
I do want to read it. Yeah.
Horrifying. 19-year-old girls with babies on their back who are hand chipping cobalt out of the ground and then inhaling all these toxic fumes and powder, this dust, and then that is in your cell phone.
Right.
That's how the cobalt gets into your fucking cell phone.
That's at your Apple store.
It's nuts.
It's the new blood diamond,
Yes.
right? It's the new, and it's funny because I feel like the whole blood diamond thing, and you know, there's been lots of these things, but it all sort of went away because it got exposed. But I feel like no one's talking about the inhumane things that are taking place for our modern conveniences. It's one thing when it's a luxury, like a blood diamond, right? Or whatever. But when it's like, oh, well, I can't live without my iPhone, you know, then it's like we're willing to turn a blind eye to it. It's like people choose not to accept it because it's part of their life.
Just think about how many people who consider themselves social justice warriors, and they do this complaining on a phone that's made by slaves.
Totally. Yeah.
So
they're literally tweeting or texting or whatever their complaints on a thing that is contributing to the thing they're complaining about.
They're contributing to the worst version of it in humanity right now.
Isn't it crazy?
It's really crazy. I mean, it's like literally human trafficking.
So in the book, does he actually go into the Congo and witness this? And
he took video footage. He came
you're kidding.
on. His story is so compelling.
Oh, I must listen
it's
to it.
so and he talks about it with such passion because he worked on this for years and years.
Yeah.
And risked his life to obtain footage and to get access and to go to these what they're supposedly, you know, ethical mines.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is all horrible. It goes, all of it is tainted.
Yeah.
All the cobalt that we have, all of it is at least in some part coming from these, you know, what they would call, I mean, it's basically just the most primitive version. People in flip-flops with hammers. Chipping it out of the ground.
What's extreme poverty?
Yes.
Right? And
it's more like slavery.
It is.
Calling it extreme poverty, I think, is not quite accurate enough. They call them artisanal minds, which is like hilarious because it's like
anytime you slap that word onto anything, it's fun.
Oh,
right?
It's artisanal.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I think someone's making pottery somewhere.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So back to the Bondo ape.
Sure.
Is that what is? Because I know there was some controversy behind that, and there's some people that sort of denied its existence. But then Carl Armand got photographs of them, and they obtained skulls that were a chimpanzee skull that had a crest.
Enlarged. Yeah.
Well, they also had a crest, like the same way that a gorilla does.
My understanding, and this is not something I'm super familiar with, but there's no denying that they existed. Right? There was this insular gigantism that took place within this group of chimpanzees. There was heightened aggression. That's all like known and documented. But it wasn't a new species. It wasn't a distinct species. It was sexual or rather natural selection that led to these animals being different and isolated and turning into larger, more aggressive chimpanzees. That's my understanding of it.
But would that also make their skulls different?
It can do,
because oddly enough, we have a skull.
Yeah,
of a
it's very cool.
This is made by Shane Against the Machine, who's a guy on Instagram who's an incredible artist. He's made a couple of pieces for the podcast studio.
Oh, rad.
The difference is with this skull versus what they think the Bondo ape skull is, that the Bondo ape has like a bone mohawk
right
down
through
the
here.
center.
Yeah,
like a gorilla does.
Sure. So, sexual selection over time can evolve for anything, can adapt for anything, right? That's why peacocks have the silly tail they have. It doesn't help them fly, right? It's only sexual selection it's being bred for. So you get a bunch of chimps stuck on an island, stuck in a region, and the females decide for whatever reason that a bump on the head is sexy. Okay? Now, every chimp that has a slight bump on its head is being selected for by them begins. Because now you fast forward millions of years and the sexual selection has been selected for over and over and over and over, and you're starting to turn into a new creature, a new organism altogether.
If I'm not, I don't think I'm incorrect here. I think the crest indicates enormous mandible muscles.
Because the muscles attach up there.
Yeah, I think
Makes
that's
sense.
what the crest is for.
Yeah.
Because that's how it is with dogs.
Sure.
Like, have you ever noticed the difference between a dog that's castrated and a dog that's not fixed?
In temperament, sure.
The size of their heads.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Like, my dog is a golden retriever,
Yeah.
the sweetest dog in the world.
Yeah.
But he has a pretty big head.
Yeah.
And it's the muscles in his head are big.
Sure.
Like on the sides of his head, because he has his testosterone.